we talked about our budgeting principles. And suppose one of us wants to build a tower, that we would count those costs, right? So let's again review. So first thing, we needed to identify our income, all sources of your income, including your salary, side jobs, and any passive income. Second step was to plan for savings. Decide on your savings targets for emergencies, future needs, and investments. And then finally, set your giving goals. Determine those amounts to allocate for tithing and charitable purposes. Then we needed to list our expenses, estimating our necessary expenses such as housing, food, and transportation. Key word there was necessary. Okay. Track our spending, so we're going to monitor that spending, and then we're going to review and adjust. So each month, basically, we need to look at our budget, and then look at our bank statement, and review how we perform that month. All right, then week 2, we got into contentment and learning about contentment. And we spent a lot of time talking about the debt and dealing with debt and some ways to manage debt. And from there, we laid out our biblical financial plan. So defining our goals, reflecting generosity, contentment, and stewardship. And we do that by assessing our current finances, again, that budget, and creating our generosity plan, making intentional regular giving part of that commitment. So key was to start to eliminate debt. Secondly, we want to build those savings. That emergency fund becomes our next layer. And then finally, again, we review and adjust with accountability. So that was kind of our wrap up for what we did in weeks 1 and 2 of how we build some intentional methods in order to create a better financial situation for ourselves. All right, so today we're going to get into needs, wants, and contentment. Further, a deeper dive in contentment. So, as we're talking about, God owns everything, and we are just a manager of his resources that he's given to us. So first, let's talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So what does Maslow say about the 5 things we need? What are the 5 things we need on a day-to-day basis?
I think safety is first.
Safety, food, shelter, water, clothing. Right. So those are our needs. None of those were wants. So we're going to use our stewardship lens, though, to discern priorities that honor wise, compassionate care. That moves actually probably over to the need column, though. So next, contentment strengthens. It strengthens us when we can be content with where we are. And then it starts to get rid of some of those psychological needs of wanting things. So here we are, needs versus wants. We're going to build a clear ladder from essentials to growth guides and wise priority giving. So the key, again, is starting to discern between needs and wants. And then there can also be a third column that you can put out there called wishes as well. Okay, so needs, again, are essential expenses such as housing, utilities, groceries, and transportations. These are non-negotiable. We have to do those. Now, where can you make your impact? You see at the bottom, the wants. That's discretionary spending on entertainment, dining out, vacations, and luxury items. These can be adjusted, reduced. Can anybody think of another word that may need to be on there? Eliminated. Eliminated. You got to make a choice. You got to make a decision. Want a quick chicken breast, high broil, 4 minutes aside. All right, so this is going to get you all in trouble here. Y'all, a lot of y'all going to be upset. Okay. The categorization strategy is to track all your expenses for a month, then label each as a need or a want. So before we just had it on the board. Now you got to put it under a column. Is it a need or is it a want? Depends on what it is. Okay? Right. It cannot be both. We cannot toe the line here. All right, but households who use this method often cut unnecessary spending by 20 to 30%. We're going to keep going. Okay, so checklist for wants, needs, and afford. Do I want it? Check your genuine desire. Separate that emotional pull of that item. Now, do I need it? A lot of moaning out here this morning. So decide if it's essential. And then finally, can you afford it? So pause for a second. So y'all know I'm in the middle of tax season. And I received some documents from a client. And then I noticed new home address. And they had taken money out of a retirement account with no taxes taken out. And of course, you see, I'm going, obviously you cannot afford this purchase. So I don't understand why we strain ourselves. Well, I do understand because we talked about it last week. Because we're keeping up with who? The Joneses, right. Okay. Y'all learn so well. Man. But those are the things and what's that going to create? A snowball. It's going to create a snowball effect for that person and that family. Because they wanted, I guess, to stay in a certain community. All right, so let's look at some mortgages. We're going to take a look at mortgages this morning because that's usually our biggest investment. So you got choices, right? You can go into a 15-year mortgage, which will reduce your interest. You usually get a little bit of a lower rate. Or you can go into your 30-year mortgage. Both of these we're assuming are fixed, which will lower your payments today, but you'll pay a little bit more interest. Is one better than the other, I'd ask? Yeah. So based on your financials, one could be better than another, and based upon your situation, and we'll talk about that as well. Then you have fixed versus variable rates. So if you can deal with the unpredictability, you could probably go into your variable rate, knowing that you could maybe save a little bit of money and refinance once rates rise. Or if you like more predictable patterns, you go with the fixed. Okay. And then I would recommend everyone have a home equity line of credit. It's a standby for you for opportunities, as we discussed. Last week we discussed good uses of debt. And this would be a good use of debt, a home equity line of credit to invest, to purchase a rental property, something that will bring back income. So have that on standby so you can take advantage of those opportunities. Okay, so in that situation we talked about, the 15-year versus the 30-year mortgage, the estimated interest saved choosing that 15%, that 15-year mortgage over the 30-year is about $217,000. Now, as we said, the negative side of that is you've put yourself at a payment that's much higher, right? I would dare say if you were a business owner, would you like that type of pressure, or would you like to create a little bit of flexibility? Whole lot of flexibility. So you probably would do the 30-year mortgage because you need that room in case something goes wrong with your business, right? So if you need that flexibility, what you can do is you can make payments at a 15-year clip, but you have the ability to drop back if times change. So even if you were to flip and have the same payment and make it on a 15-year basis, the difference in interest is actually only $31,000 over 30 years, which is only $1,000 a year, really. So you can actually turn a 30-year mortgage almost into a 15-year mortgage. And there's some other techniques as well. If you start to do biweekly payments instead of monthly payments, you're chopping that principal down twice a month instead of once a month. And you'll also actually make one extra payment a year. So doing that will cut a 30-year mortgage down to 23 years. So there are a lot of techniques to use so you don't have to force yourself up there, but you can still almost get in the same financial position. All right, so some smart homeowner guidelines. We're talking about optimizing our mortgage here. So selecting the right mortgage for you and your family. What works for you? What are you trying to achieve? Regular home assessment. So regularly go on Zillow or Redfin and see what the value of your home is. Pay attention to those market trends. What's going on? Is there an opportunity to sell? Yolanda and I have a classmate. She'll know him, very aggressive. And you all probably have heard his name because he's been a county commissioner, Farad Ali. And Farad lived in Hope Valley, but Farad would go to the zoning meetings at the county, so he knew where the development was. So what he did was he sold his house in Hope Valley, moved to downtown Durham. He knew exactly where to move, bought this little old house, knowing it was going to appreciate tremendously. So he had done his research, done his homework on how he could use the market trends to create himself some wealth. And then finally, consider right sizing. So when the time is right, is that an opportunity to downsize? Right now in the triangle, it's tough to do that. It's really tough to sell your home, go into a smaller home, and actually pay less. It's probably not going to happen. Maybe out Rocky Mount or Eben maybe, but in the triangle, that's not going to happen right now. So make sure you're consulting with someone if you're talking about downsizing, about whether or not that's a good move financially, because it may not be. Okay, luxury, leisure, and smarter choices. So your beauty should not come from outward adornment such as elaborate hairstyles. And y'all stop trying to cover up your jewelry. And the wearing of gold jewelry or fine clothes. So how did they know about weave back then. That's just amazing to me, the foresight they had of what we were going to have today. All right, luxury versus simple leisure. So, luxury leisure, what does that do? What does luxury leisure look like to you all? Private jet. Yacht. Expensive cars. Yes, exactly. Spa treatments. I might. Yeah, okay. Luxury spa, okay. Designer clothes, okay. Vacations. Long vacations. And we'll get to that. So vacations is a topic we're going to delve down into, so we won't get too far. So luxury leisure, short-term excitement, right? But then after it's over, it's over. Money gone. Increases stress and our desire for more. Limited spiritual benefits because its focus is on material satisfaction. But low cost fosters lasting happiness and relaxation. You still went to the spa. Still got a hot stone treatment. It might not have been in the 5-star one, but you still got the hot stone treatment. I see it come across the statement. I'm like, why couldn't she have gone to, All right, moving on. All right, let's talk about the emotional impact. Again, luxury gives us temporary joy, but potential stress. And you came in the morning too, right? Okay, temporary happiness. Okay, we have a debate topic for a minute. Okay, let's digress. Okay, happiness versus joy. Let's lay that out there. That was good. And internalize it, I would say, right? Because we all kind of assess that differently. But those are excellent points. But the spiritual benefits, luxury may distract from growth. Simple deepens our gratitude, honors stewardship, and wise use of resources. Okay, so okay, great point. Okay, so the question was to our virtual audience about churches in different sizes. So small church versus medium-sized church versus mega church. And essentially, I guess the cost that can be associated with those. The mega church tends to be probably a little more glamorized and glitzy. So they have different ornaments perhaps and things of that nature. And as we go down, those things are probably more leisure looking versus luxury. So I would say neither is right or wrong, but if you accept contentment and you're at a mega church, and if you didn't spend that money, what could you do for your community? And I thought that was the purpose of why we were here. Absolutely. Absolutely. So back to the order that we talked about, when we reverse our order properly, and we do, the income comes in, we tithe to the community or your charitable giving, and you've saved, then the rest is yours. Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. You worked for it, you deserve it. And it's been given to you. And to multiply it. Because then you'll take someone else for that experience or tell them about that experience. And then, well, how did you do that? So in a way, you end up teaching the next person. No, that's definitely fair. Okay, Starbucks. So before we begin, we're going to read Proverbs 13:7. There's one who makes himself rich, yet has nothing, and one who makes himself poor, yet has great riches. So what's our theme here from that scripture? So you don't manage your money, you ain't gonna make it. Exactly. So what we're looking at is slow and steady growth, gradual accumulation, and long-term investing beats get-rich-quick schemes all the time. So let's look at some purposeful realignment of our resources. So now we've gone through the budget, we've separated needs from wants, and now we're trying to repurpose those funds and those assets such that they can be used in another way. All right, so we have a weekly savings habit. We're going to save $15 every week on coffee at Starbucks. So maybe that's 2 visits versus 5, whatever that math works out to be. Compound interest power. So let's say we get 6% interest from compounding and saving that money each week. Where will we be? So after just 10 years, that's $9,832. 15 years, almost $18,000. And after 20 years, almost $28,000. So let's take the case of Amber and Tony. And Tony said his guilt was Chick-fil-A, so we're going to just substitute Chick-fil-A for Starbucks. But if you just stop one time at Chick-fil-A, you'll save $15 right now. Okay, so Tony stops going to Chick-fil-A one time a week, $15, and I picked 20 years on purpose because of college. And that's what I'm thinking. So they're about to have a child 18 years from now. They would have about 1 year of college paid for. That's just off of the one stop a week, the $15.
We got 20 years, $27,000.
Mm-hmm. So back to Mr. Pratt's comment. What we want you to do is we want you to go by Costco and get the Starbucks K-Cups, invest in a Keurig, and you can buy a Starbucks mug, and you can recreate that experience. Save on gas, because now you don't have to drive by Starbucks. You can go straight to your destination. Might save you 15 minutes in the morning. All right, we're going to talk about vacations a little bit. What is up with all this moaning? I see. I told y'all we're going to get uncomfortable in here today. Okay, vacationing, making wiser choices. All right, so y'all help me. So when we go on vacation somewhere, what is the ultimate point of the vacation? Relaxation, kill the stress, make memories, not cooking. Okay. Now, do you anticipate spending more time in the hotel room or less time in the hotel room? Less. We all can agree on less. Okay, so why do we need to be in the Ritz-Carlton versus the Holiday Inn Express?
They don't have robes.
Now our girls would debate you on that, because when we were traveling with them, and if the hotel didn't have breakfast, it was not 5-star. So for them, Holiday Inn Express with the sausage patties out was 5-star. But it brings that point, though, is should we go down to a 4? Because in theory, we're just there to sleep for the most part and take a shower. And could we repurpose that money? So again, making some of these choices about probably contentment, we keep coming back to that word, contentment, and be happy that what we got to go vacation. So okay, so I get to go take a vacation. That's step number 1. I'm still taking my vacation, but can I do it in a more cost affordable manner and still be content? Okay. Where is Deacon Adams? I need him to, because right, because we tend to we want to layer that money. We want to stay here and shop. But we should budget for that event.
You already saved a lot of money. You got the kids at home, the grandkids at home. You got all that extra money you spending at home anyway. You might as well splurge.
Now that's a good point. I mean, you get to a point though where you've done the things, as Tim is saying, you've done the things you're supposed to do, and once you've accomplished those things, yeah, you can splurge. Yeah, absolutely. So again, it's about perfecting that order that we're supposed to go in, and we tend to go from income to spending versus income to savings to charitable to spending. So again, it's about us trying to get our order correct. But again, look at the impact. So for that family that vacations once a year, or how many ever times that looks like, just a $2,250 per year savings, 6% again, zooms up to $82,000 over 20 years. So now we've got almost probably 3 years of college paid for. So now we're almost getting our child through college with only 1 year of scholarships versus 4 years of scholarships. So starting to get down the road too, we got our, that's probably another budget we should have done is our current budget, but a future budget that encapsulates those things. That family I first talked about, if they wanted that dream home, should have made it probably a target. There's nothing wrong with staying in that size home or cost of home, as long as you plan for it. Yes. Well, they ain't gonna get much better. Yes.
So does it help if we go, let's say we went for a travel agent and then they're allowing us to pay on our vacation and it has to be paid off 60 days before we leave. Does that help in the method that we use to pay for our vacation versus just plunking down a credit card if we find different methods to get where we're trying to go?
Correct, yes. So a question was, if I know I've got this vacation planned for and I've used a travel agent and I'm paying for the vacation diligently before I take it versus plumping it down on a credit card, absolutely, because once you plump it on that credit card, now you've got interest. So again, but that just came back to she planned. Oh. Just put the password in. So she planned. So yes, that would be a method to get there. Absolutely. Let's see. While we're on that topic, again, we're talking about question in the back. So she all right, so we've all been there, right? You go to whatever store, TJ Maxx, it doesn't matter. You go to TJ Maxx. Oh, do you want a TJ Maxx credit card? It'll save you 10% today. Oh yeah, sure. Put it on the card with every intention of paying the card. Probably had every intention. But now you're like, well, wait a minute. I didn't even have to spend that $30 here, so I can go now to breakfast or wherever you want to go. So that, it's like I said, it's things like that snowball. And I got to come back to a point on that, but that's a good question.
But I think Irving raises a good point when it comes to knowledge. Because I think a lot of people do some of the things we're talking about, but they know the hacks. They know to get a good flight, you got to be up 2 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday or Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
They know you don't ever purchase a flight on a Friday or Saturday. So I think what she's saying, in addition to what she's saying, we've just got to equip ourselves with knowledge and understanding on how we can do some of these things without paying what everybody else is paying. Because there are people who take some extravagant vacations and pay less than many of us will pay just to go to New York. But they know the tricks of the trade, and many of us don't.
Sure.
So I think we just have to figure out how everybody else is doing it, not doing it without paying an arm and a leg for it.
Sure. So to a point, it goes back to being disciplined as well. So in theory, you should have a credit card with points, right? You should charge everything that you can that you normally pay for on that card. And then just pay the card. And so that way you get the points. But what we can't do is charge everything on the card and then go spend it. Okay. That's where the discipline comes in. Do I have anybody in here who was a psychology major? No? I bring that up because one thing about our decision making is we got to understand how we make decisions. Emotions, but also our brain looks for patterns. And when it detects a pattern that brings us joy or happiness, it's going to seek it again. Because we are conditioned when something happens to run to safety. Think about it. If we heard some gunshots right now, what would happen in this room? Everybody in here would be running. Because our goal is to get to safety. Your brain does the same thing. It's conditioned to take you to safety. So whatever that thing is that, just think about it. So what happens sometimes when people stress? Sometimes they go eat. Some shop. This shopping thing just keeps coming up. Some people shop. That's their safety. But that's what our brain is conditioned to do. So until we can understand that, and then the third thing, back to Ms. Orlean's point and Baldwin's point, is a lot of times we seek advice from the wrong people. Because we go to our neighbor and say, well, what did you do when you ran up your credit cards? Nothing, I kept on shopping. Or they didn't learn what we learned, the snowball technique and the avalanche technique. They didn't learn to, okay, I better get a budget in place. So a lot of times we go to the wrong people seeking advice. And of course now we have all this social media with just tons of terrible advice that we're fighting. Yes? Yes. So, right. So we can, as you say, take it with a grain of salt, interpret it in our own way, manipulate it somewhat. Yes, yes. Mm-hmm. Sure. Sure, absolutely. And that's a good point. And a lot of that could probably be done through simulation games. Before we do it with real money, do it on paper with them. So, hey, I'm going to give you, $3,000, charge the card. We can simulate that for them to create that habit before we actually put it in place. So that's an excellent point. And that goes back to the way our brain would think about it. Yeah, absolutely. We get to try it out. Yes.
question is, how many credit cards should a person have? Not like Target or those, like MasterCard and Visa. How many credit cards should you have? Because when we was coming up, and our parents always taught us, but we were teens and we didn't really care. Our parents always said, whatever you do, make sure you have good credit.
Correct. And I think it's more about keeping the good credit and using it in a wise manner. Because if you think about it, you could have 5 cards or 1 card. They could all have different limits to get you to a certain limit, and they're going to impact you, when you go to buy that home, because that credit card or the mortgage people are going to go or can go, well, even though you haven't used that card, we're going to count it against you because you have access to that money. Because again, their goal is to get the highest interest rate possible for you to pay. So it's a technique and a tool. Like, all these things are tools, and we have to be taught how to use the tools. Unfortunately, like, bankruptcy is a tool. And if used properly, it will help you. Okay.
Realistically, if you see something on sale and it's 10% and you use your credit card, when you pay it on your credit card, you're actually paying more for the item. The credit card is probably more than a higher interest rate.
Absolutely.
Than paying it in cash.
And thanks, Tim. And so what Tim was saying was they discount you on the front end of 10%, but your credit card is 12. Hopefully. Probably not, but so right there we just lost 2%. It's just, the simple math we talked about. Okay, we've already kind of talked about the wise vacations, how we're going to invest the difference, stay at Holiday Inn, and eat the buffet breakfast. Okay, now here we go. Here we go. The ultimate driving decision. We got a up front. Neither one. We got to vote for neither one. But really, what's the difference in these 2 cars? Size. Size, gadgets. Pretty much it. And price. Oil change. So now let me ask, is the leather inside the same? Same. Steering wheel the same. Seatbelt the same. Both of them go 70 miles an hour. Both of them go 80 miles an hour. And both of them go 100. 120. Just one will get there a little bit quicker. Okay. All right. I don't even need to talk. Y'all can read the screen. After just 5 years. Okay, so we're back to, again, we keep coming back to where we started, keeping up with the Joneses. Keeping up with the Joneses. And when we can stop that and be content, you just are so much further along. What's you all's kind of paint what happiness looks like? And think, is it stressing over bills? Sitting on, stress-free. So we probably We're probably talking what we call a work optional retirement, where you work just to keep your mind sharp and your body going, but not because you financially need it, right? Would that be a good goal? All right. I tell a lot of our financial planning clients, I said, this is our job when we meet with you. Because most of us are trying to figure out the quickest way for us to get to retirement, correct? And the day that you know that you can go to work and tell your boss, remind your boss, you know I don't have to be here. That's where we're trying to get to. So we're trying to pencil out that date or put it in pen so you know, January 25th, 2029, I do not have to get up if I don't want to. That book we talked about last week, Millionaire Next Door, most of those millionaires have accumulated enough wealth, they don't need any money for 7 years at a minimum, because they don't spend. Right, they pay for things up front, but they live very frugally. As he said, neither one of these cars, right? So finally, we want to avoid lifestyle inflation. And what we mean by that is usually on a year-over-year basis, we all get a raise. What we don't want to do is spend the entire raise. And we keep coming back to that same theme, order, order, order. We got to stay in that correct order. Savings, tithing, spending. Savings, tithing, spending. That's the order. So that spending discipline, savings uplift, stewardship choices. Probably should have just taken number 2 off so y'all could focus. But Miss Erlene probably be upset back there. So. Now we talked about wisdom and learning, embracing wisdom for purposeful living. So distinguishing those needs from the wants. Practice stewardship. And finally, live to honor God. So as you can see, I'm not saying this because I'm in need, for I have learned to be content, whatever the circumstances. So that's our goal, is again to practice that contentment. And that's what's going to get us there. Any questions? We're a little early today, so we can entertain other thoughts.
Sir, I got a question. Do you think that people realize the amount of data that the TVs are projecting out to them to get them to do bad things?
Sure. So his question was, do we understand the data, the marketing that comes at us daily that entices us to go shopping, basically? And so, yes, of course, they have studied, just like we have studied, that they understand what we respond to. They understand that fast food, your brain responds to those colors of red and yellow. Well, have it your way. But if you notice, just about every restaurant is red and yellow. I mean, Bojangles, Wendy's, McDonald's, Hardee's, Chick-fil-A, they all have those colors because they know those colors, bring that out. That's why things pop up on our phones at the time they pop up on our phones. Because we scrolled looking for something, and then there it is. And sure enough, we're at Dick's Sporting Goods buying a fishing rod. Bass Pro, excuse me. Luxury versus leisure.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So with the mortgage, when you said pay it bi-weekly, are you saying take that monthly payment and break it into two? Or are you talking about an additional payment, with that monthly payment?
Okay, her question was about the biweekly mortgage. No, you're breaking that monthly payment into two. So what's happening is that they're calculating interest on your principal on the 31st. So now you're going to take half and put it here. So you're going to start to speed up that principal going down, which in turn speeds up the calculation and lowers the interest. So essentially, you're actually only making one extra payment a year. And if we are biweekly, if you get paid biweekly, you get 2 extra checks a year, so it shouldn't impact you. Yes.
I was always told that whatever you're buying or if you're getting a loan or whatever, that you're paying off the interest first before you're paying off the principal. Is that true? I mean, when you make your payments, they're basically going for your interest, then later on to your principal.
So you're making both at the same time, and you have to understand how they're charging the interest. Is it annual percentage rate? Is it monthly? Is it at the first of the month? Is it at the end of the month? All those things make a difference. So her question was, when you're making your payments on the loan, are you paying down the principal and interest? And yes, you're paying down both. What happens is that balance is so big up front that, you know, if you take $20,000 and you got a 10% interest, so you're going to pay $2,000 interest that year. So your balance is only down to $1,800. So it takes a while to chop it down. Yes.
Would maybe making an extra principal payment every now and then have a similar effect as to paying it twice a month, or paying your 15-year mortgage amount every month on a 30-year mortgage? So I think just making an extra principal payment every now and then would help to lower that interest over the 30-year period, right?
Sure. So her comment is, would designating the payment be helpful? And yes, because if you send it in without any instructions, they're going to apply it like normal. So, yes, money's going to go to the escrow account, all that fun stuff. So you have to be intentional and say, no, I want this payment to specifically go to the principal. So that will help speed that up, absolutely. So that's part of this process. So we're kind of talking out loud, but now getting more specific about that instruction is wonderful, yes.
You just said escrow account. Explain, please.
Okay, so when you have a mortgage, you have the amount of money that the bank loans you for the house, so you're paying principal and interest, and then they don't want you to get behind on your insurance and taxes. So they have what's called your escrow account, where they make you make a payment, put that money to the side so that they can send off the tax payment for you and the homeowner's insurance payment. And that account tends to fluctuate because they're guessing at it a little bit, and then usually you'll get a note the next year that's like, oh, we paid you too much, so here's you paid too much, here's a refund, or do you want us to apply it, or you paid too little? Yes. So great question. Yes, ma'am.
Can that work on car payments as well?
Yes.
And extra?
Can work on any loan balance.
Yeah.
Can work on any.
They don't want you to do that.
They don't know. They don't want you to do that, of course. That's how they make their money. That's how they make their money. Yeah, you have to be specific. You have to tell them, because they are not your friend. They are not your friend. You know how many phone calls you get from them trying to cross-sell you something. Dick and Nate got a CD. Deacon Nate, I see you got X amount of dollars sitting in your account. Don't you want a CD? That's how they make their money. Deacon Freddie, don't you need a credit card? We see you got 6, but no, we're 7 at this point.
And that's what happened to me when I first got my car. I did it like for 7 years, and I paid so much money on interest or principal interest. And they kind of put me like they thought instead of paying it off in 7 years, I paid it off in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't like it.
Right. So, okay, great point. So you also have to ask, are there any prepayment penalties with some of your loans? So that's another great thing that you have to ask up front, because in their mind, they want that thing to go 7 years. They've already accounted their interest on their books. So that's why they were upset. So also make sure you ask about prepayment penalties on any of those loans. All right, well, we have reached 9:30, so we have ended session 3. Session 4 next week. We're going to delve way down into retirement accounts to make sure everybody knows their definitions, how best to use them, give you an exact formula of the order in which to fund them. Then we also had people wanting to know about estate planning. So we're going to delve down into estate planning. Those will be our main 2 topics next week. And then I'll leave you all with this. Ponder for me, and this is going to be by use of the accounts that we're going to talk about next week, but is there a way, or is there such a thing as a tax-free retirement? Okay. All right. Expound. How? Uh-huh. He said, don't touch it till you're 80. Okay. No, we're going to show you how to touch it. We're going to show you how to touch it. No, there is such a thing with the new tax law. Some of us can't do it because of when the timing of the laws were. But our younger generation, this is what we've got to explain to them. These tax laws are set up where they can really be successful. So we'll delve down into that and show you how to build that tax-free retirement. All right, everyone, thank you for joining us again on Sunday Academy. Your all's participation has been wonderful. And again, week 4 next week, looking forward to it. Thank you.